So a couple weeks ago, I threw out a submission on my channel asking for people to link their videos to be roasted. So today we're going to go through 3 channels I picked, and we're going to roast their content and really try and give them as much feedback as possible, as much useful feedback as possible, so that they can learn and get more results on YouTube. So first up, we have this guy, Evan Bryce, and it seems he is a sort of entrepreneurship creator. So let's kind of look at his content and go through and see what can we fix, right? So off the bat, I'm really liking the fact that he uploads pretty consistently. I think for these sort of creators, especially when you're starting out, you want to be pretty religiously going once a week. Like, you don't want to hit it's not like a specific deadline sort of thing, but more you want to be practicing and really improving your skills. So putting out a lot of content is crucial, right? On top of that, I really like this idea of I locked myself in this cabin until I made 10 million. Really good idea. I think the thumbnails need some work. I think they're not that interesting. It looks like you have access to some really cool places. So I think a really interesting way to make better thumbnails would be like showing more like luxury exclusive places in your thumbnails, right? So like in sort of like vacation spot you went to, or office with insane view, or private jet, or the sort of experiences of being an entrepreneur versus, you know, the time lapse of like, you know, you in front of your computer, right? I think you should really lean into like showing the craziness of like the lifestyle. So I think one of the big issues in the sort of like, I call this the finance bro space, but it's really like any sort of entrepreneurship, any sort of guy who's made money and now wants to build a personal brand, right? One of the key obstacles, the highest leverage thing you run into is finding a unique selling point, right? So I think it's funny because like being rich is pretty rare, right? But in terms of YouTube, there's so many rich guys trying to get into the YouTube space and to build a personal brand that it's actually not very rare at all when it comes to content. There's a lot of people who have been successful and they've done everything, right? So one of the big things of being successful on YouTube is finding the unique sort of angle you can present yourself and separate yourself from all the other types of content, right? So with this sort of content, it looks a bit Daniel Dalen sort of vibes, and that's what's really been blowing up. So now imagine like 1,000 rich guys are all trying to do Daniel Dalen, right? And now you know your content's not standing out like crazy. So I think a couple things that you can do to really make your content stand out is brainstorm, how do I add some sort of novelty to my content? How do I kind of stand out? So in terms of maybe I go harder on the production quality, maybe I go for more cinematic, right? Maybe I do more of like share the journey, right? And it's more of a raw every single week, you share the journey. Or maybe it's more lifestyle, right? So what's been blowing up like crazy right now is lifestyle personal brands, where you share the process to broader people versus sharing like the tiny nitty-gritty details to a small audience of people, right? So for you, for Evan, I would really focus on what are broad videos we can focus on, broad titles that'll attract like 100,000 entrepreneurs, right? That'll attract 100,000 people who want to be successful and want to make money, right? And so I lived in an adult-only millionaire summer camp. Not really, like, it's focusing more on you and your experience versus focusing on what the viewer wants, right? So with this sort of content, you really want to focus on like, what is the pain point? What is the desire of the viewer? And then create content that kind of plays into that, right? The desire is to make money. The desire is to be successful. The desire is to go through all these luxury and crazy experiences. So focus on the broadness of that aspect. Now, another thing I talked about, I did a video breaking down Daniel Dalen, but one thing I talked about too that's really useful is separating your video into different segments of lifestyle versus learnings, right? So we have lifestyle where you're going on the private jet, you're going on the dinner, you're doing the interesting thing, you're in the office overlooking with the view, right? And then you kind of share the life, right? And then you have segments where you share the learnings. So this is where you talk to the camera and where you're very raw and you share like, today I really struggled with this, or today we fired an employee and this is what we learned, or today I ran into this problem, or, all these the sort of learning bits. And you kind of stack that with, lifestyle learning throughout the video. So you get a little bit of both, where you get the sort of, the broad lifestyle of like what you're doing throughout the day to be successful. And then on top of that, you're getting the specific golden nuggets. There's little advice that people would pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for. And you're giving that little bit of advice, throughout the video, but it's not too much to where it's like a talking head of just me talking to you, just raw value, right? So that's what I would say. I would really focus on the unique selling point. That's the highest leverage thing. And then second off, I would focus on the ideas in the thumbnails, right? I think right now the ideas in the thumbnails, they don't really stick out to me. They don't really grab me. I think you need really unique, bizarre, interesting scenarios, right? The reality of living with 10 entrepreneurs in one house, that's actually a really interesting idea, actually. Like living with 10 entrepreneurs, one house, how can we show that more? I think with that, I would have maybe found a title that like emphasized more of like, 10 entrepreneurs, like how much we made, all of us combined in the month. I've seen there's a format that worked really well, which was like it was a guy with like one house, and it was everyone with like 8 BMWs. They all had the same car, a concept like that. So that could be interesting, where we go the thumbnail of showing everyone, you know, in each of their respective like cars, right? Or like we show everyone together. I think could have been a lot more interesting. You know, I moved into a treehouse with 10 founders. Same thing. You don't really show the treehouse very well. You don't show the 10 founders. So I think an easy solution for you to solve this problem is volume. But for each video, like just go on Notion and create a gallery and just do like 20 different thumbnails. You know, rough ideas. Don't fully sketch out, don't fully Photoshop, but just rough ideas. You can even draw it in like Photoshop or a sketch, right? Do 20 core ideas. And from there, you'll be able to really you'll be able to come up with more good ideas, right? And then you can try and pick out the best idea out of those 20. Same thing with titles. That's an easy way of solving that problem. So next up, we have a channel called Silas Edel. So this is a core problem I see so many times. And it's the fact that you don't upload. So you're watching these videos, you're watching like YouTube how to get better videos, and you spend a ton of time watching these videos, and then you don't do anything about it. You don't apply it. You don't put the content out there. So, I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of people who watch YouTube advice videos and then never post a video. So for this guy, I would say just post a ton. Do a challenge, post once a day for 30 days, and then just keep going, 3 to 4 times a day. If it's shorts, 3 to 4 times a day is crazy. If it's shorts, 3 to 4 times a week, and just go. Get content out there. Understand what works. Understand how to film yourself, You just need to, at this stage, you literally need to just like put as much content out there as possible and try and get as many hits as possible. Once you understand what works, once you understand the audience you want to target, once you kind of have a little bit of the audience in terms of viewership, then you can dial down and focus on more quality and focus on bigger ideas and better production. But for now, it's like, stop binging YouTube videos. You know what to do. Just put out a ton of content. So lastly, we have this guy, which is kind of like a leads. So it seems like he's focusing on coaching. He's focusing on outreach, leads, that sort of thing. Similar thing, just uploading a lot, uploading frequently, I think is a big thing. I really like the rawness of him plus whiteboard. I would try and, this is the same problem with like the finance bro sort of niche, which is like everyone's going into leads in these sort of raw videos. So it's like, how can we make you look or feel different from other people in terms of the presentation, like how you look, the format of the video, the way you're titling it, stuff like that. Like, for example, a lot of people will yap for like 30 minutes. What if you just do really jam-packed 3 to 4 minute videos, right? Each of them, 3 to 4 minutes. Find the problem, solve it, done, right? I don't really see people doing that. I see most people just yapping for 30 minutes. And it's like, these yap videos are not organized well. The thoughts aren't organized well. So it's like, what if you just do 3 to 4 minutes where it's very well organized, right? On top of that, with this sort of content, this is low views, high volume of output, right? So for this, you just need to be spamming. So same thing. I would challenge you to do one of these every single day for the next 30 days and just go from there. And with this, getting leads for you will not be about making the best video possible. It will be about giving the most advice, the most actionable advice, right? So that's the keyword. So a couple more like in-depth things, like one thing is you can do is just have more actionable advice immediately into the video. Be like, okay, for each video, what is the golden nugget of advice that no one's ever heard before or no one's ever gotten before? And you want to place that instantly in the video. You instantly get hit with golden nugget of advice that's insane that you can instantly apply to your situation. Boom. Instantly viewers are gonna be like, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. Holy shit, I can apply this to my video instantly. Well, I kind of like this guy. Maybe I'll subscribe. Maybe I'll get in a call with him, right? On top of that, you're just testing. Just see what works. Find that unique selling point. And then, I think maybe shorten it down so you're not like yapping too much and you're kind of jam-packed with value, and just really put out a lot of volume of videos. That is going to be how you really win with this format. But I hope this was helpful. I don't want to yap for too long. I don't want to, preach. I want to practice what I preach. But hope this was helpful. If you guys like this, put your channel in the comments, and I will do another one of these. Peace.